Hello and welcome everyone to my channel Code with Ease. So from today we are starting the series on arrays. So we are starting with a very popular question. It's popularly known as the two-sum problem. In this portal it is however being labeled as key pair. So in this what we have to do is if we are given an array of n positive integers and another number x, we just have to determine if there exists two numbers or two elements in this array whose sum is exactly equal to the x. So like we can see in the example, these are the integers which is given to us in the array and x is equal to 16. We have to figure out if there exists two such numbers which add up to give us this required sum. And we are given this array of integers as the parameter and we are given n and x. So n is the length of the array and x would be the required sum. And we have to return a boolean denoting the answer. The expected time complexity is linear and the space is also linear. So there are many ways to solve this question. We are going to see that one by one. We are going to start with the brute force solution first, like we always do with every question, to understand the thought process on that, and then we can break it down even further and slowly we'll progress towards the optimal solution. So the initial thought process that would come to the mind is, okay, so we have a set of integers in the array and we just need two numbers out of it, any two numbers which would add up to a certain number. So the initial thought process would be something like to use for loops. So we'll traverse the array. So we'll traverse the array and find out which two numbers add up to the required sum. Okay, in order to do that, how we can do is like if we have this number 1, if we keep the outer loop fixed at 1 and then we can traverse the rest of the numbers and see if 1 plus any number is equal to 16. If not, then we will move to the next element and then we can traverse rest of the array elements to see if that is equal to 16. So this we can keep on doing. We can have the outer loop and the inner loop is going to actually find the another number of the pair. So in order to do this, what will be our time complexity? As there are two loops, so it will be exponential and it will be order of n square. Okay, but as we are already being told that the time complexity has to be linear and we are given this space complexity instead of constant, we can take space also. So now we have to move on to some other solution. So this was the initial thing, it's the brute force number 1. Next we have to try to think of something better. Okay, so we know this technique called two pointer, and since we have to find two numbers, so two pointers will make sense. Like if two pointers will point to two numbers and those two numbers can add up to give us some the sum equal to whatever is required. So these two pointers can also come to the mind, but the the but the catch over here is, in this case, whenever we have to apply two pointers, we also need to sort the array. So we can use sorting and also two pointers. So how that will work? So if we are given these numbers, so if I try to sort this, so how will it be? 1, then followed by 4, 6, 8, 10, and 45. So if we sort these numbers in ascending order, and if we start one pointer from the beginning and one from the end, we can just keep on simply adding these. Like 1 plus 45 is obviously not equal to 16. So if the number is whatever the sum we have got is greater, so then we can decrement from the last. So this technique we have seen across other videos in my channel. So what it does is, now we are at 10. So 10 plus 1 is 11 and 11 is lesser than 16. Okay, so since it is smaller, so we can try to increase a bit. So now 4 plus 10, 14, again smaller. So now we can increase. So now my I is at 16 and J was wherever it is at 10. So now 6 plus 10 is giving us 16. So in that way, once we are sorting it and using the two pointers, that can also give us the required result. Why we are sorting it? Because in this we are trying to do the comparison, right? Like greater than or lesser than. That is what will determine if the I pointer has to move forward or the J pointer has to come backward. So if we are doing that, we have to have some sort of sorting in the array to be done. Time complexity of this, since we are using sorting, and usually the built-in arrays.sort method gives us a time complexity of n log n. Okay. Apart from sorting, we are also trying to do two pointers. Two pointers is done in a single traversal, so we can say n log n plus n, which is going to be equal to n log n itself. So the worst case complexity in this case would be n log n, which is slightly greater than order of n. Again, this is not optimized because this is basically, it's optimized from the brute force, of course, but it is not what our requirement is. The question clearly states that it has to be in order of n. So now we have to think of some more optimal solution. So if we have to do it in order of n, and we are being explicitly told that we have additional space being allowed, so now this can click to our mind that whenever auxiliary space is given as order of n in any question, this is a thumb rule. If any space is allowed to us, there can be multiple things, but one of the important thing that will come to our mind is hashing. Because when we take hash map, hash set, or whatever, it takes up some space. So we are allowed to take space means we can apply hashing. Okay, so if we are using hashing in this, and let's say I use a hash map, but then if we use a hash map, we need to store a key and a value. In this case, I can see there is only one requirement, that is we have to print. We don't even have to print out the elements, we don't even have to print out the index of that, we just have to return a boolean. So I need not use a hash map. I think let's have a hash set only. Okay, so if we have a hash set, what we are going to do is all these numbers what we have here. So we are going to put each number one by one into the set, but there will be a condition. So what we will do, firstly we'll say, okay, even before coming to that, let's understand one more thing. Let's say there are two numbers, x plus y, which will give us the sum. If I have to reframe this, I can also write x equal to sum minus y, right? So if x is, let's say, our current element, okay, so if x is my current element, that will be nothing but the sum minus some other number. So why I want to bring this concept is, what we are going to essentially do is, while we'll traverse the array, we are going to check if the sum minus current element, means ARR of I, if this is contained already in the set. Already. If yes, then we found the pair. So we will return true. How will this work? Let's say I have 1. First, we are getting the first character. So I'll say that if this check is going to run, so we'll say sum is 16 minus 1. 15 is not even there in the set. So if it is not true, so in the else I'll write, if this condition is not true, I'll add to the set. Add to my set. Okay. So 1 is added to the set. Next, we move to 4. Now 16 minus 4 is 12. 12 is also not contained in the set. So we are going to again add to the set. We'll move to 45. 45 minus 16, whatever the number is, that also is not contained. So 45 will be added to the set. Then we'll add 6. Because of the same reason, because 16 minus 6 is 10 and 10 is not into the set. So we have added till 6. Now we come to 10. 16 minus 10, sum minus error of I, this check will now be true, because 16 minus 10 is 6 and 6 is already contained in the set. So once this condition becomes true, it will be returning true. So it essentially means that it has found the required pair. So that is the whole logic behind this. Another flavor of this question would also be, sometimes instead of returning this boolean value, we will be asked to return the elements itself. Like in this case, 3 and 4 are the index. You might be required to you might be asked to print out the values itself, like 6 and 10, or you might be asked to print out the index of the elements. So these are the different variations of the question. So like I was saying a bit like I was saying a while back, that if it was needed for printing out the index or printing out the elements, at that time we could have thought of using a hash map, because we need a mapping of the element and the index, where that element is, what that element is. So in that case, the key and value pair would have helped us. But since we just need the elements to be stored, and on the basis of that we have to judge if there is a pair or not, so we can simply have a hash set. And one other thing was, if it exists, will return true. So let's say this check was never satisfied, so it will never be true basically. So in the outside of that, we can just simply return false. So that's the logic behind this question. So now let's see how do we code for this. Okay, so we'll define a set first, a set of integers. Set1 equal to new hash set. Then we need to traverse this array. So we'll say I int I equal to 0. I less than n is already given to us. So it will be n I plus plus. Okay. Now inside this, we have to do the first check if set1 already contains the current element, which is arr of I. Okay, I just missed this out. It contains, okay, not like that. What we will do is we'll define another integer int target, and we'll say sum was x, so x minus arr of I. Okay, so this is the target element that we are looking for. So we'll say if the set1 contains this target, not this. So if it contains this target, then we'll return true. Else we'll simply add it to the set. Set1 dot add the current element. And outside of this for loop, we'll return false, because if the condition is never true, this if condition is never true means it doesn't contain pairs. So yeah, that is all about this. We'll compile this, compile and run this. Okay, so we'll submit. Okay, so this is done. So that's about this first problem on arrays, the two sum problem. Moving on, we are going to see step by step some more complex problems on solving on various algorithms. So yeah, that's about this problem. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to watch more content like this. And do let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or any suggestions, and don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you so much.